to organic agriculture practices, but then we need to ask ourselves, do we have the markets? And are the markets ready for us? Okay? And also, how do we bring on board also investments, financial investments, to boost, the development of the organic markets, the differentiation of the agroecological products, the differentiation of the what we all know as organic products. So we have focused on the companies, and we want to try to understand, are the companies that we have out here that are doing organic, that are processing organic products, that are exporting, that are doing domestic, that are selling in the domestic markets, are they really growing? Are they ready for the transition that we are already talking about? Because you'd imagine, if we boost production, and the markets and these companies are not ready for us, or they don't have the capacity, to absorb what the farmers are producing, then farmers will not be motivated, right? Farmers will not be motivated, because farmers also need to put money in the pocket. So where are our farmers going to sell their products? The farmers need to sell their products to the companies that are processing, companies that are doing value addition. But what is the capacity of these companies actually to actually get ready and adopt, or basically, pick up the products that are coming from the farmers? So there's a study we have done. That is a title on the usage of the East Africa Organic Product Standard. The East Africa Organic Product Standard is the one with the Kilimo High Mark, and I think we are all familiar with the Kilimo High Mark, which here in Kenya is under the custodian of Kenya Organic Agriculture Network, and then in the other countries also it is under the custodian of basically the NOAMS, the National Organic Agriculture Movement. So next, we continue. Go to slide 3. So this is a collaboration that we have with GIZ. I would really like to appreciate GIZ for the work that they are doing in promoting agroecology, in promoting markets, and we are working with Kenya Organic Agriculture Network, with the Tanzania Organic Agriculture Movement in Tanzania, and also with the NOGAMU that is based in Tanzania. And basically, we want to boost regional trade among the African companies. We also want to improve compliance of the EOPS, of the Kilimo High Mark. Can we try and see that companies are actually complying, complying and actually adopting the usage of the East Africa Organic Product Standard? And also, basically, we are looking at improving the capacity of the farmers as well, the participatory guarantee system groupings, in terms of enhancing their capacity to be able to comply with the PGS standards. And then, of course, working closely with the National Organic Agriculture Movements, now like here in Kenya, KOAN, to be able to also improve their capacity to be able to effectively support the companies that are here in Kenya, support the farmers to understand compliance issues, and also transition in regards to certification. Go to slide 5. So this study was done in Eastern Africa region, but I'll focus on Kenya in my speech. So slide 6. So this study identified 60 companies. In Kenya, we sampled around 20 companies to get to understand what enterprises are they doing and what services are they involved in. And it's interesting to note that most of the companies, even here in Kenya, they have been operating for less than 5 years. That is what is being picked up. So these are young companies. The SMEs, the MSMEs that are operating in the organic sector. They are very young companies. And they are around the production type they are doing. Around 74% from that data are trading exclusively on organic products or organic production. And these companies, more than half of them limited liability companies. And interestingly, the companies that are in the organic sector, most of them are processing and doing value addition. That is the biggest number. We are on slide 7. The biggest number is doing value addition and processing at 66%. And then we have another 59%, also a big number, that is in primary production. That is farming, livestock, aquaculture, and that. And then another percentage, 51%, they are in marketing and distribution. So these are the companies, these are the value chains that we are picking in regards to the popularity of the different value chains. So majority are in processing and value addition. And the companies that we interviewed, they are selling, majority are selling in the Eastern Africa region, especially the Kenyan companies. They are selling in the Eastern Africa region. Next slide, number 8. 68% are selling in the Eastern Africa region. Then we have a 22% that is exporting in Europe. And then a 22% is not exporting. They are just trading within their countries. Like now in Kenya, they are just trading within Kenya. But of course, they would be very happy and they are ready to explore the export opportunities. So I've already talked about the stage of growth. Most of these companies they're in early growth. Actually, we were picking that from the data, like for instance, the data that Kwan provided to us. The ones that were a bit would have expected to have advanced a bit. Some have closed. So majority are just young companies, nascent companies, startups that are coming up and are in this sector of organic markets. In terms of organic production, we are seeing high organic adoption where they are entirely trading just in organic. But you will see these companies are trading in organic production or markets, but they are not having any certification. And I think from the talks, the discussions you've had in the morning, so yes, they are trading as organic companies, but they don't have any certification. They don't have the Kilimo High mark. They don't have the third-party certification. They have nothing. So that is what basically we are picking up. And in terms of whether these companies have any plans to export, like for instance out of Kenya, majority of them, they are not exporting, and they don't actually, but they plan. They have that, they have that plan, but the problem is the capacity. Like the companies that were interviewed here in Kenya, 62% are saying that we can export if we are supported, or if the trade barriers, we are supported in terms of addressing the trade barriers that seems to be hindering these companies actually to venture into the export market. Another interesting thing is that these companies, they are trading in organic products, but the staff, their workforce, is not trained, it's not effectively trained to handle or basically to comply or to support these companies to comply in regards to the standards and certification. So the biggest portion, 45% of their workforce in these companies basically do not understand the procedures, the compliance issues, the standards and such, yeah? You'll allow me to skip some slides. I'm in slide 13, sorry. You know, I'm used to I'm used to moving it myself, but I'm on slide 13, sorry. Sorry guys. So go to slide 15. Slide 15, something that is very interesting. The companies that are like here in Kenya, their annual gross revenue is less than 500,000. Yeah, that is a majority. Yeah, and then we have around 27%. That is their revenue is is between 500 to 1 million. And then at 22% that has gone beyond 1 million. This is the annual revenue. That is for Kenya. So So they seem but of course they are saying the revenue is kind of increasing from the projections that they are seeing, but then majority, as you can see here, their annual revenue is below 500,000 Kenya shillings. So slide 16, the future plans to expand to enhance economic contributions in this sector. Majority are actually expanding into new markets, that is domestic or export markets. But basically, these are basically plans for them to do that, but they don't have the capacity, basically. They seem to be very much relying on, on the support from the private sector, like basically from the NGOs. But then, because we want to boost regional trade, we sought to understand: are they ready to venture into the export market? Because you can see majority are still trading within, like for instance, just trading within Kenya. I'm on slide 17, if I'm not wrong. Slide 17. So what we are seeing is that one thing is that these companies, like for instance here in Kenya, the scaling output, 8% in Kenya, they can scale out output by more than 50% using existing assets, what they have. So they are ready to scale out. Organic certification plans. Here in Kenya, 57% of these companies, they are willing to invest infrastructure to meet export standards or requirements, provided that they get support. So there's kind of that issue of they don't have that capacity themselves to do what? To comply with the certification requirements. So I'm on slide, let's go to slide, just move to slide 20. So I've talked about these companies are not actually having any certification. They're not having the Kilimo High. They're not having the third-party certifications. And that is what you'll see on slide 20. We are on slide 20. So are these companies ready for export certification? That is not slide 20. Slide 20. Go back. Go up. Yeah, that one. So in terms of readiness, are they really ready for the export certification? One day, 59% do not have any certification. And that is what I was talking about. And then we have a small proportion, around 21%, that are having the export certification. I'll show you for the EOPS that we have here in the next slide, slide 21. 6%, only 6%. In Kenya, 6% have the Kilimo High mark, are using the Kilimo High mark. So this is a very small percentage. This is a very small number of companies that are using the Kilimo High mark, which is what we are promoting here in the Eastern Africa region. So we need to start asking ourselves, why are these companies actually not using the Kilimo High mark to trade? Where is the problem? Or how can we actually support the companies to adopt a Kilimo High mark? Yeah, of course, what motivates them? We asked them, what would really motivate you to maybe adopt Kilimo High mark, use the Kilimo High mark, or even basically use the EOPS. That is slide 24. And they said that why they think they can be motivated to use it is because of meeting export requirements, the buyer requirements, basically the buyer consumer requirements. And also some are thinking that this will be an opportunity for them to improve their product quality. But their first priority will be actually to meet the export, or basically the market requirements. So just go to slide 26 as I finish. So what are the challenges that these companies are facing? What are the trade barriers? That is not 26, 26, yeah, that one. So I'm finishing. So one of the biggest challenges is market intelligence. These companies are limited in terms of market intelligence. So they are citing limited information, market information, or lack of reliable export data. And this was peaked at 73% in Kenya. Access to finance is also another big trade barrier. So they are reporting restricted credit or export-related activity, for export-related activities. And we are picking 38% of this of the Kenyan companies are actually not having, have that limitation in terms of accessing finance to support them in terms of compliance. Policy reforms and subsidy schemes. This is another great trade barrier where the government, there's insufficient government support or incentives to support them to export and to trade, and also to adopt the Kilimo Hai mark, basically. So what are some of the policy recommendations that we want to put to the floor, and also that should go to the call to action for this National Agroecology Symposium? One of the very key policy recommendations is to enhance and to strengthen the public-private action towards addressing the persistent external barriers, such as the unreliable market data, and also the limited export finance and logistics deficits. So I'll not go into details into that, but basically the recommendation is, can we have a regional organic market observatory that can actually compile real-time data, real-time export data on pricing, and also the buyer requirements and expectations, and even give regulatory updates to these Eastern Africa farms. Can we have that? That is one of the recommendations. We should also consider negotiating for a dedicated fast track, these courier companies, through customs, port handling, and the courier hubs exclusively for the EOPS certified organic goods, so that we can eliminate these trade barriers that the companies are experiencing. We negotiate with international courier companies, the ocean freight lines, the air cargo carriers, the port authorities, the custom agents, so that we can reduce tariff, the cold chain shipping rates for the certified organic products, so that we can support these companies actually in regards to compliance. Because we need to, if we really want the companies that are trading here in Kenya to start using the Kilimo Hai mark, the EOPS, what is the value proposition that we are giving these companies? What is motivating them? What do we need to do? What message do we need to package to motivate companies to use the Kilimo Hai mark? So another policy recommendation is that we create a dedicated export readiness fund. This is like a subsidy kind of a fund where actually we can support them. We can support them with technical support to acquire infrastructure that they need to acquire, and support them in terms of reducing these barriers. So my last slide, the last slide, as I finish on the policy recommendations, is also to advocate for lowering financial and administrative barriers to accreditation. You know, the governments, like here in Kenya, could we have these companies get some subsidies for the first time companies, firms that apply for the Kilimo Hai mark? And also, they seem to be struggling with audits. Can we centralize the audits so that we can drive down this cost of audits, and also, you know, offer them kind of a tired, prepackaged traceability toolkit. So these are some of the recommendations that we are bringing forth, and possibly to go also to the call to action. And as I finish, can we also establish trainings series that equip the exporters to navigate preferential tariffs, rules, origin, and phytosanitary protocols? We have already seen 59%, if I'm not wrong, are actually having staff that are not trained, that are not aware about the compliance issues. So can we establish training packages, training series that can support the staff, the workforce in these companies to comply, to support the companies basically in regards to compliance? So as I've finished my presentation. We can go to slide 29. So my message to this platform, and of course to the call to action, is for us to take up some of these recommendations so that we can bring value and promote the usage of the Kilimo High Mark, so that also consumers can have that confidence that what they are purchasing, healthy and nutritious products from the supermarket, from the retailers, and wherever you pick these products. So thank you very much.
Wow, Venancia. Ish. You've done well. You've done 15 minutes. Give a round of applause. You guys, why do you clap as if you don't want to clap? Why do you clap as if you don't want to clap? Yeah, that's better. It's an agroecological noise barriers. We're talking about sound systems, maybe. Okay, great. Thank you so much for those very, very wonderful words. That insight, actually. I want to add one more. I was talking with Eustace just now, and we're saying, how come we're not trading across Africa? And of course, he told me, yeah, it's easier to take your produce to Norway than to get it into Uganda or Tanzania, for that matter. And yet, we are hearing our politicians talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Is there a way that we can now start pushing for that as well? We start trading among ourselves, because we are 1 billion people in Africa. If we can break that market, then that can be really, really something that we can look at. And that's just a thought for you to think about as we look at the financing and being able to trade. Thank you once again. A round of applause for Venancia Wambua. Thank you very much for that wonderful talk. And to take us to the next level of that, I would like to invite now a gentleman who I've known and respected for a long time. We come from almost the same area. And he doesn't eat as much as me. That's a joke, my goodness, okay. I'll try and crack the joke later when you guys are listening properly. He is the National Coordinator for the Kenya Organic Agriculture Network, KOAN, and he's going to be taking us through discussing financing agroecology transition in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Eustace Kiarie. Did you get a joke? You didn't get the joke about eating? See me, I'm big, him is small. So okay, so it's all right.
Thank you very much, Bona MC, for the introduction. And thank you, Venancia, for taking us through, laying good ground for our panel discussion. And maybe to put it into context, is that transition to agroecology is not usually the agronomic shift or the technical know-how. It's the shift, the whole transformation of our food systems. And as we gather here for this conference, agroecology remains quite underfunded. The previous speakers, the previous session also talked about finance and how financing and investment markets are important or are critical in catalyzing agroecology transition. And for this discussion, I'll be joined by some leaders and experts in agroecology to answer the critical question: how can we mobilize and align financial systems to accelerate agroecological transition? And without much ado, I want to welcome the panelists. Let's put our hearts together as we welcome them, starting with Francis Shivonje. Let's a round of applause. Then we have Dr. Beatrice Adoyo from ICRAF C4. And then Confrey Alianji from GIZ. Let's put a loud of applause as we welcome them on stage. Is Confrey with us? Yeah. So karibuni, and welcome to an interesting and informative session. Yeah, and maybe to just dive into it, we start with Francis. Start by introducing yourself and the organization you work for, and tell us or share with us some of the financial barriers preventing farmers from transitioning to agroecological practices, and how donors, investors can help in overcoming this. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Eustace. Good afternoon. My name is Francis Shivonje. I work with an organization called BioVision Foundation. BioVision Foundation, our work is mainly focused towards promoting agroecology, and a number of ways that we do this. Number one is through policy development and influencing, and we've been doing this through supporting the various policy development processes, both at the national level as well as the county levels in Kenya and other countries. We also support the private sector in what we call investment and also technical support, mainly private sector companies that are trading, producing, and generally doing business in agroecological products, including organic and bio inputs, as well as processing of organic and agroecological foods, and also generally trading in fresh produce, and so on and so forth. The third way that we also do this is working with different partner organizations, mainly civil society organizations, to be able to promote and scale agroecological practices amongst farmers and other actors within the food system. Because in BioVision we believe that agroecology can be able to address the three dimensions of sustainability, that is the economic dimension as well as environment dimension, very effectively, and also addressing the social issues that we face within our food system. Moving on swiftly to address the question that has been directed to me by Eustace, that is the barriers or the financial barriers that are preventing farmers from transitioning into agroecology. I think it's not only farmers that are faced by these financial barriers. I will draw some examples and some challenges that were picked up from a study that was done by IPES Food. IPES Food in full is international experts on food system sustainability. In about 2-3 years ago, they did a study that was looking at financial flows in agroecology, specifically focusing on money that is going to research and looking at the main donors, the main financing countries that we know of, mainly from Europe and also Northern America, and looking at how they finance agriculture and what proportion of that money goes into agroecological aspects of agriculture, and just looking at the barriers that prevent investment in that space. That also reflects, the barriers there reflect also on farmers and other actors, including private sector businesses that are in agroecology. And the number one barrier that came out of that report, and this report is called money flows, is that there's a lack of market incentives for agroecology. And we know that if there is no incentive for farmers to be able to access markets, it means that they will not invest in production of these products, and therefore that follows the entire value chain. It means traders, processors, and other businesses, including those that are in agroecological inputs, will not be motivated to be able to invest and take active part and meaningful part in agroecology. And that limits investment in that aspect. There's a lack of product differentiation, as we've heard from Venantia. So the certification schemes that are there, the uptake is very low. There is no way farmers can be able to prove and differentiate the agroecological products from the rest of the products that we know are conventional, and that is a challenge. Market segmentation, if you look at our public markets, our wet markets, Wakulima market in Nairobi, you go to Kongowea in Mombasa, and so on and so forth, the products are laid out all the same, so you cannot differentiate which one is agroecological and which one is not. There are some efforts by some actors to be able to make some progress in this space, I think including corn, slow food, SNV, and Vegetables for the Planet through their Veggies for the Planet project, have tried to make some effort to influence a few public markets to have segments specifically for agroecological products, but that is just a drop in the ocean, and that is preventing investment in that space. There's also low consumer awareness. We know consumers are a key driver of agroecology, and if consumers do not demand the products, it means there is no market for these products, and therefore investment will be critically low. The number two barrier is, limited access to tailored financing. If we look at the financing mechanisms that are there currently, interest rates are very high. The requirements for you to be able to access the finance as a farmer or an agroecological actor is prohibitive, and these are preventing access to those sources of finance and also investment. The other problem related to that is, there's a lack of tailored financial solutions that can be able to provide an opportunity for agroecology uptake, because we heard yesterday that agroecology is not a silver bullet. It does not act as quick as people expect. For example, if you look at the different practices and inputs that are used in agroecology, it takes time. Therefore, it requires tailored financing. For example, patient finance, because the initial stages of transition into agroecology requires time, and therefore, farmers and other actors require finance that will give them time to repay back as they go through that transition period. I think I will leave it at that because of time. But some of the solutions that can be done by investors and financiers include, making tailored financial products that will be suitable for agroecology, moving away from looking at profits as the bottom line for financing these enterprises, and consider besides profit, also consider the effect on people and also the planet that agroecology brings into that space. I will leave it at that because of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shivonje, for the good explanations and also providing some solutions. And maybe building on the barriers that you have identified, Dr. Beatrice, what type of partnerships are required for scaling agroecology finance and markets? Kindly introduce yourself, please, and the organization as you share the type of partnerships required for scaling up agroecology finance and markets. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Beatrice Adoyo. I'm a scientist from C4ICRAF. And at C4ICRAF, we are leveraging on the strengths and the benefits of trees in addressing global challenges, including land degradation, climate change, food insecurity, among others. So allow me to let us journey through the decision-making process at investments and marketing scales. For us to be able to scale up agroecological marketing and funding, integrating the aspects of partnerships, okay? So I've always had this weird thought, what if we woke up tomorrow and we found ourselves in a situation where most investors emulate the USAID funding withdrawals? Will we find ourselves in a state of despair, for example, and give up the hope of transitioning towards agroecology? So based on this, it is very important for us to start thinking on how best we can be able to leverage the available resources at local scale, the intersectoral budgets, the county level budgets and the like, to be able to make the small baby steps, even before we start looking at external funding, number one. Let me now go straight to partnerships that are needed for scaling agroecological financing and marketing, and I'll only focus on two. First of all, we really need to have the strong public, private, and producer partnerships. And this is going to help us to bridge the gap, both the knowledge gap, the capital gap, as well as the implementation gaps that are available or existing. And this is going to help the investors or the financiers to be able to identify where we really need to fund. But again, let us not forget about the regional and global cooperations that is very key in harmonizing standards, as well as attracting large-scale investments in scaling up agroecological transitions. Finally, on scaling agroecological financing and marketing, there's no two way about it. Taking us to a journey through the steps of investors' decision-making platforms, there's no two way about it other than proving that agroecology really works, proving and providing actual evidence, practical ones, that agroecology has a holistic impact both to the livelihoods, to the food system, to the social components of our ecosystem. So we really need to think about repackaging our work and having this demonstration disseminated across scale for us to be able to convince financiers. And finally, let us try to build on trust among funders through open financial reporting, for example, to enable them to uptake, at least to have that trust that whatever they are contributing to is actually creating an impact. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daktari, for those insights. And coming to Confrey, this morning we had the CECs talking about county policies, and one of the issues that came up was about financing. As you introduce yourself, how can public and private finance be better aligned to support long-term agroecology projects, particularly at county level, and given that some of the projects may have longer return on investments?
Thank you. Really appreciate. So my name is Confrey Alianji. I work for GIZ as the innovation advisor in the AXIS project, which is sustainable agricultural sustainable systems, food systems, and we are on a mission also to support the work like what Pelham is doing and all of us who are in the room to make sure that there's sustainable food systems in Kenya. And from just answering your question, so there are a lot of opportunities to deploy investment in the food systems. And yes, I was hearing when the county chief officers were here and the CECs were here, and they made very good pronunciation. So the opportunities lie, and we've had some of them from our partners at BioVision, among others. There exist different mechanisms to deploy financing in agroecology, but then the difference is that you know, the private capital requires a lot of, their interest is usually only one, profit. But then when you come to agroecology, there's a difference. So one of the ways will be through what we call blended finance. So blended finance is just a fancy word for mixed finance or blending, you know. So when you mix public, private, and philanthropic capital or money, so that you can then provide, and the way the blending is done is that either the government could, or the ministry or Agricultural Finance Corporation could get what we call concessional loans, and these are loans that are have a lower interest, or they have a grace period. You mentioned about it. So if you are supposed to pay in 2 years, so they give you a grace period. They say you are supposed to pay in 2 years, but you have 6 months. You use the money until after 6 months. That's when you start paying. So we do not have mechanism like those in the agriculture sector as much. So we need a lot of those mechanism, and we need also to provide incentives for private sector to or commercial banks and development banks to be interested to invest in agriculture. And these things should be happy that the CECs talked about here, the counties should actually be at the forefront of unlocking those financing for also the private sector, small like agro hubs and farmers to actually tap into. And one of the ways will be through using their agroecology policies to develop contracts with either, they could actually develop contracts that they can submit either to government, to treasury, and then the treasury submits to development banks like either World Bank or IFC, and we also have many development banks in Kenya. The counties do not need to wait for either the Minister of Agriculture or anyone else. They could actually just use the policies they have made, those agroecology policies, and then start developing contracts from them. Two is what we call like innovative financing methods, and one of them is called outcome-based financing, whereby you are financing based on outcome. And she talked about it in her research. And this is what we call methods like payment for ecosystem services. And we also have, and the most famous one, incentive models is carbon credits. Everyone knows carbon credits here. So that is an incentive model for an innovative financing mechanism. And one of the ways is also through what she mentioned, using incentives like certification. So we have, maybe they might be in the room, people like Rainforest Alliance who are doing they are making payment to farmers who are practicing agroecological practices, organic or producing organically. Then you have, beside the normal price, they pay a premium for if you show that you actually produced organically. So we need incentives like those. We need more contracts that are developed by private sector, people like Rainforest Alliance. And I'm happy to also mention at GIZ we are working on a project we call compensation. Compensation, like in full compensation for action, where the action you are taking in practicing agroecology, we compensate you for that. And this project will be launched in, we are already working on the mechanism in Western Kenya, whereby we look at paying farmers for showing that they are producing organically. And so through this model, it's just one of those innovative financing methodologies that now can incentivize people to practice or to move towards the agroecology way. Yeah.
Thank you very much for those good insights, including incentives to agroecology. The study that was presented by the keynote address showed that even the companies that we have in the East African region, they are low volumes, low values, less diversity of products. And to you, Shivonje, what simple, practical ways or things can we do to trigger demand so that this demand can drive investments in agroecology?
Okay, thank you. Maybe before I answer that, I would just like to add one way that I think not investment, but access to finance can be improved. I think because, I mean, when you look at our financial institutions, agricultural financing is expensive. But, and I think this is because of the risk that is associated with agriculture. So if donors, investors, financiers can also be able to de-risk the financial institutions by way of providing a fund to them that will cushion them from the risk that is associated with agriculture, I think then their credit or their lending terms and also interest rate can be lower, and therefore enabling most of the farmers in agroecology and also in farming in general to be able to access finance. And then moving on to the question that Eustace has just asked, I think the key entry point there would be mainly focusing on awareness and also demand, because those are the key drivers for agroecology, basically. Consumers play a critical role in ensuring that products are uptaken because they are the ones who buy these products. And if they demand for agroecological products, that means that farmers will be motivated to be able to produce. Traders will be motivated to make sure that these products get to the consumers and get to the markets. Processors will invest in processing these products and so on and so forth. And so awareness drives awareness campaigns, especially focusing on consumers on the benefits of agroecological products in terms of nutrition, in terms of food safety, in terms of the effect on the environment, can really spur agroecological investment and also business just across the entire spectrum from farm to the fork. Number two, that awareness, I mean, all of us here are consumers, and we are aware of the challenges that we are facing. Earlier on here, when the CECs were talking, we had some of them saying that the challenges that they are facing in their counties is related to nutrition, food-related diseases and sicknesses, and what we call lifestyle diseases that we know food can be medicine to some of those challenges. So if we create awareness around that to the consumers to realize that they need to change their lifestyle, they need to change the kind of food that they consume. Where I come from, you take porridge for breakfast, you take ugali for lunch, and then you take maybe another form of ugali for dinner. I mean, you're basically consuming the same kind of food, so it's not a balanced diet. But how can we change that without creating awareness amongst consumers so that we can be able to drive demand? But that awareness is already there. The other challenge that we are facing is that access to those foods is a problem. Because I might want to purchase agroecologically produced food, safe food, food that I'm aware of where it was produced, but then where do I get it? That is a challenge, and that is the elephant in the house that we need to tackle. Something else is that we also need to work on leveraging on the opportunities that are there. In this point, I'm focusing on the digital space, the AI that is currently the in thing when it comes to technology. How do we invest in such platforms to ensure that consumers everywhere can be able to order for their products? I mean, I can get my vegetables, indigenous vegetables from Vihiga by just getting onto an online platform or an e-market and be able to place an order. Courier services are very efficient nowadays. The vegetables are placed, delivered into a courier service in Vihiga, in a town in Vihiga, say Mbale, and then the next morning I'll receive my vegetables. So these are the kinds of investments that we need to get into and look at those opportunities, especially the growing middle class in urban areas who are now becoming health conscious, becoming conscious of the food that they consume, would very much want to get into such opportunities and be able to order for their healthy foods. We did a study in 2023 just looking at markets for agroecological products in Kenya, and mainly food products. And one thing that came out is that consumers are aware of food safety issues that are there, and they would like to purchase food that is safe. And most of them actually purchase food that they believe is safe, and they want to know where that food is coming from. So you find that most of them will tell you, I buy my avocados from Kisii. But basically, they don't know how that avocado was produced, but because they know Kisii and they know that avocados are produced in Kisii, they assume that avocados from Kisii are safe. So by that assumption, they purchase food that they are not aware of how it was produced and its safety. But in their mind, because they know where that food is coming from, they assume it is safe. How do we invest in traceability systems, certification systems that can be able to differentiate those products at the marketplace, so that at least when I'm purchasing it, I'm sure and guaranteed that it is safe and it was produced conforming to certain good practices that we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis, for the insights. And maybe building on what Francis has said, Dr. Beatrice, are there market structures or policies that currently hinder the scaling up of agroecology, and how can this be changed?
Yeah, so thank you so much. I saw some of us sleeping when my brother was talking, so just to emphasize, if at all I sent you to the market today, and all I want is an agroecologically produced tomatoes or bread, what will you bring? You see, we are here to promote agroecology, but we can't differentiate it in the market, okay? So that is one of the challenges we are facing. And I'm very sure today, if I asked any of us to differentiate between organic agriculture and agroecology and the like, we will fumble. So we really need to have a clear distinction between what we are really promoting. This is posed to be one of the main challenges. A major challenge to marketing agroecological produce is the dominance of input-intensive value chains, okay? I am yet to hear about government subsidies on agroecological inputs, for example. So this poses a great challenge. The second thing I'd like to talk about as a challenge is lack of recognition of ecosystem benefits, which is at the center of agroecological transitions. And as a result of that, most of the agroecological produce prices do not take into account the efforts that the farmers take to be able to foster ecosystem benefits, which actually contributes to agroecology being labor intensive and the like. So these externalities needs to be incorporated in the actual pricing of agroecologically produced produce. We can also talk about lack of policy coherence. Currently, we are doing a massive policy analysis, and you will find that there's a great discrepancies on what people or what policies are targeting, while others are focusing on the industrial models, the others are focusing on sustainable farming systems. So we either need to be either hot or cold and not lukewarm. We need to decide on what are we really focusing on and create a coherence between the intersectoral policies that are existing. We need to create a level playing field. If it's about subsidies, let us look at both sides so that we have a level playing field that does not put agroecological transitions at a disadvantage. And finally, let us support regulatory frameworks and let us have them enhanced in such a way that they promote the positive benefits of agroecology. Let us talk about strengthening our PGS systems that are existing or those that are upcoming, as well as available certification systems that needs to be set into place for us to be able to effectively transition towards agroecological or sustainable food systems.
Thank you very much, Daktari, for that. And back to you, Kennedy. I know GIZ has worked in many countries, in other sectors, and probably you could share with us what are some of the lessons we can learn in agroecology transitioning, in financing and marketing, and also to help transition in agroecology.
Thank you. So just to also put it in perspective, finance follows market opportunity. So if there's no market, then there's no money coming into the ecosystem. So, and we don't need to go too far. And from what they have said, it seems like also we are not creating a market for ourselves for agroecological practices or for consumption of products that are produced sustainably. And are we also even trading among ourselves, as the MC was saying? Is Makueni creating a market for products in Vihiga, like you said? I come from Nandi. Our cows are very different from those in Vihiga. So maybe are we creating a market for milk in Vihiga? Are we creating a market for bananas so that they're coming from Kisii to either Trans Nzoia or Turkana, etc., etc. So those markets that you are talking about, if you go to Europe and South America and like in Africa, countries like Mauritius and South Africa have big markets just because they have created like those financing mechanisms. So they have large development banks, commercial banks that are investing into agriculture. Mauritius is big. I think there was a time before now Kenya was actually importing sugar from there, and even South Africa exports a lot of products. It's because they have created a market, or they're linking market and finance. So that's the first thing we need to do. And before we even look outside, in Kenya we can learn also from what Safaricom and the digital technologies that are happening, like DigiFarm and M-Pesa. There's ways you can get either loans and insurance. Pula, if you know, how many of you know Pula? I think it's Kenya, and now it's been exported to other countries. They are providing insurance for farmers. They were in Nandi, I think paid very high premium in Nandi and many other counties, Kwale, Kilifi, and Kirinyaga, among others. So for the PES that I talked about, payment for ecosystem services, and incentive models, those organic, you have to have created a market for it. So the president, when he came in, he committed Kenya to be the high export of what? Carbon. You remember carbon credits. So what he was doing, he was actually trying to create a market for something that was not happening. So once you do that, you make a statement like that, you are trying to create a market so that other people can come into it and tap into those contracts. So these countries in Europe and, for example, Costa Rica is very big in payment for ecosystem services. So they pay farmers for incentive models. Like they reward farmers if you farm in a certain way and then sustainably, then we reward you for doing. We pay you a premium for doing that, and it's just on the same level she was talking about. So let's create markets. Besides focusing on the production side, let's also focus on the consumption side, so that whatever is happening on the production, there's a connection between production and consumption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, I want to open the floor to get 3 short, quick questions from the audience, and then we'll have an opportunity of the panelists responding to, and then we close the session. I see the first hand here with her. Maybe we pick up a gentleman from this row. There is no hand on that side, so go at the back with the blue. Yep. Make them short, sorry.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Lydia Kimani with Agribusiness for African Markets. My question is to Confrey. He has talked about linking finance to markets. GIZ, Germany is one of the largest economies in the European Union, and Kenya has recently signed and implemented the Economic Partnership Agreement. So this happens to be one of the tools that is implementing their transition to safe and sustainable trade. So to what extent is GIZ leveraging this particular market to support the efforts at national level on agroecology transition? Because this is one of the low-hanging fruits, and it could be a very good entry point to actually initiate the export guarantee schemes that provide the necessary financing that gives momentum to the transition. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It's morning or good afternoon. My name is Julia Kamau. I work for Seed Savers Network. Mine is not a question, but a reflection on what we have seen working for market. So for Seed Savers Network, we have an incubation program where we bring in young people with ideas around products for value addition. We provide with them space, just makeshift spaces to test their idea, proof of concept and all that. And we have seen how much they've been able to create market for farmers. And so it's a challenge to us all. We could be able to take initiatives, be able to encourage young people into the agroecology space by giving opportunities for value addition, exchange learning, and providing just spaces for testing ideas. We have seen that working, even as we work on certification, on market differentiation. We can start also with encouraging value addition within the agroecology space.
Thank you very much. There was a gentleman here who had a question, and that lady, and then please excuse us for the interest of time that we only have those two for now.
Thank you so much. My name is Chris Paskinwa. Director at IFJAD. IFJAD is a youth-led institute that is working at the nexus of food justice and development. My question is to Shivonja, and it relates to the gap that I have been seeing personally. I'm a nutritionist by training, in terms of bridging the gap between smallholder farmers practicing agroecology with our hospitals, our public hospitals. I think many of us know that our public hospitals do have a big challenge in terms of the quality of food, and we could also talk about public schools, but for now, hospitals. So to what extent are development partners focusing on bridging this gap? Because it's really, for us to talk about food systems transformation, we really have to have that issue in mind, fixing the problems that we see in our institutions. I will also be presenting a paper on the same, so I welcome all of you to come and attend the parallel session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was a gentleman who was number 2 in raising his hand, and yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joseph Wanes, a citizen scientist and also a farmer, an organic farmer from Bomet. We have been practicing organic farming and also being certified by Rainforest Alliance, where they have a joint venture with an exporter. Our farmers have actually been trying to go organic farming, but then they are not being paid for that. Comparatively, when they compare with those farmers who are not doing it, we are being paid the same rate. So they wonder why they go organic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Apologies, we will not take more questions. The panelists are still with us. You can follow them during lunch and the other breaks for follow-up questions. But at this point, I want to give them an opportunity maybe to respond to the questions and have a parting shot. Maybe we start with Confrey.
Yeah. So my parting shot, like I said, the linkage, and I like the farmer from Bomet. With the organic farming also, what we've seen happening is that because the market actually requires certain tonnage, etc. So the reason is they will not be very driven or even provide high prices for either the products you already have. Is that either I remember in my previous organization, we set up an organic shop, and people came and bought everything. So, and these guys had to figure out how to go and farm again and bring this stuff to the market, because everyone came and bought everything. So how can we make sure that we have as many farmers or hotels are actually, when they order tomorrow, there's still a continuous production. So production needs to follow also market. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Then regarding, so GIZ and the Axis project as a long-term commitment to the food systems in Kenya, and we look forward to also just catalyzing and activating this area. And output 4 of the project is focused on financing and linking. So we have policies that we're working with the ministry to catalyze also investment into the food systems, and we will see the fruits, I think, in the coming future. Thank you.
I'll address 2 questions. The first one is from Crispus. Asking about how or what development partners are doing to influence what I would call public procurement in terms of the kind of food that is consumed in our hospitals, as well as school feeding programs. I think this is an aspect of awareness, that is one, because it is the people to demand, what we would call in advocacy citizen pressure. Because if the people or the population in Kenya is aware of the benefits of these products, then they would be able to push government to change policies, procurement policies and processes, and the kinds of foods that are consumed in our hospitals as well as schools. And that can also be a driver for investment into agroecology. That is one. But what I would say some donors are doing, for example, if you look at the Rockefeller Foundation, they have a huge program on school feeding, and in the recent past, that is in the last about 1 year or so, because they have that program in a number of schools within Kenya, in a number of counties, and they are sourcing the foods from agroecological farmers or farmers who are applying regenerative practices within their farms, and then those are the foods that are being used in the school feeding programs. So I think that is a good example that maybe other funders, other donors, other development partners that are in the space of supporting our health system as well as the school systems in terms of feeding, that is an example that they can be able to borrow from. And then I might not be able to address it wholly, but the issue raised by the farmer from Bomet regarding the organic produce, that they are not fetching a premium price. I mean, in my opinion, and also looking at the principles of agroecology, especially when you look at the principle of fairness, why would you want to produce food? And we are saying that agroecology is utilizing locally available resources, which presumably should be cheaper than the commercially chemical inputs that you would buy, the chemical fertilizer, the chemical pesticides. If you're using local solutions to produce, then it means your cost of production should be low. So why do you want to sell that food at a premium price? That means that you are targeting a certain premium market, the people who are well-to-do in the society, and there's a huge segment of the society that you are not supplying or who cannot afford your food. That beats the very essence of the principles of agroecology. So I think we should be able to produce this food so that when I go to a market, a public market maybe in Nakuru, I can be able to see that this is the section that is selling agroecological food, and this is the section that is selling conventional food, but the pricing is the same. And then I make a choice based on my understanding and awareness of the benefits of agroecological produce. As long as you put in the principles of production, where you're looking at your cost of production and then you do your pricing based on that cost of production, that you're making a profit out of your farming business, but not necessarily looking out for a premium price. Thank you. And then maybe finally what I would say just to wind up is that we should not look at agroecology only as a solution to the crisis that we're facing in terms of biodiversity loss as well as climate change challenges that we're facing. But we should see it as an opportunity to spur rural development by investing in agroecology so that farmers can be able to benefit in terms of even their health, that they're not handling dangerous chemicals and they're making business sense out of their farming business, as well as looking at it as a pathway that will help us improve our food security in the country and general development of the country in terms of even earning and investment and thriving businesses based on agroecological practices. So as a rallying call, those who are here that are able to invest in agriculture, in agroecology, make a wise decision and invest in agroecological practices, because that is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr.
Yeah, so most of the questions have been answered. Let us know that most of the funders are now moving to developing school feeding programs and adopting the approach of developing the contractual agreements and tenders with farmers. There are big projects that are upcoming, funded by, let's say, for example, I'm aware of Rockefeller, IDRC, for example. So that's a good sign for us. Number two, the notion that agroecological products must be cheaper is partly true or false, somehow, according to my opinion. You see, when we look at even this is because the organic input market is not so well developed, for example. So if you have someone with a few cows, for example, and they have like 3 or 5 acres of land, they cannot be able to access all the required organic inputs. And this makes them to supplement with the purchases, which generally makes their farming more expensive. A recent research that we've done together in collaboration with the GIZ in 4 countries indicates that at initial stages of agroecological transitions, more agroecological farms tend to have slightly higher expenses at the farm level. And this is because they are tending to focus more on ecosystem benefits, for example, enhancing their soil health and the social systems being put together, and they will start realizing benefits later on at an advanced level of agroecological transitions. So this is why I had to emphasize that the ecosystem benefits that are associated with agroecological farming needs to be integrated into the agroecological produce prices, okay? Yeah, so I think this is something that really needs to be looked at. And talking about the farmer who asked the question, we also need to shorten the value chains. We need to shorten them. The fact that they are using someone who is using someone to help them access the external export market lengthens the value chain and makes them to benefit less from that. So as development partners, as researchers, and as people who are supporting farmers, let's try to localize and to shorten the value chains as we focus on developing the local food systems and the local markets.
Thank you very much. Indeed, there is a lot to talk about, and there is a lot of new information coming out. But for the interest of time, I want to bring it to a close up to that point. hand it over to the MC and request all of us to appreciate the panelists with a loud of applause. We can do better. And to all of us for being good participants. Thank you very much.
Your keynote speaker in the middle. There we go. Let the keynote speaker be somewhere in the middle. Have you shaken their hands first and told them they did a good job? You know, Joe, ni VIP hapo. Nyinyi yote ni VIP lakini they say animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Have you heard that one before? Is it true? Good. Smile at the camera. Give them a round of applause one more time. Thank you very much for talking about financing, and it was that in-depth. And thank you because you were fewer. We were able to get a lot more from each and every one of you. Eustace, you did a great job. Really appreciate you for a good job. Well done. Asante sana. So, ladies and gentlemen, as they are thanked by our country director, yes, and country coordinator for Pelham, thank you so much. Once again, Pelham, thank you for bringing quality people in a beautiful, beautiful meeting. I think that was really exciting, and it's good for something before lunch, sindio? Ilikuwa unafikiria juu ya pesa before lunch. It's a good thing to do. So what I'd like us to do, just so that we can redeem the time, and also so that our hosts here are not getting annoyed with us because we're going for lunch very late, I would like us to do the side events immediately after lunch. In fact, we're going to have a short lunch today. We'd like to start at 2 o'clock on the dot. So all the people running the side events, you have the rooms there. They're written very clearly. You hear the side event 5, 6, 7, and 8. All there are written up pretty nicely. And you can see Hivos is there. There's GIZ. There's Pelham Kenya. And there's, can I see this one? ISFA. So please make sure that if you're running one of those, please be in your room. You already know the rooms, right? You remember Mara, Athi, Nzoia, main one. Okay, so you just go to the ones that you like to. You can see them there. You've seen them in your program. Yeah, do I need to say them? Because now I'm struggling with this writing. Okay, so there we go, and you have the different rooms that are there. ISFA will be in Nzoia. Pelham will be in Athi. We have Hivos will be at Mara, and GIZ will be here. All right, so please make sure that at 2 o'clock on the dot you do that, and then please finish by 3, because we now are going to be having parallel events, parallel sessions happening. There are 4 of them there. You can see the different topics. Choose a topic that you like to go to and be a big participant in those. There shall be reports, of course, that will come out of there. We have rapporteurs who will record everything and be able to enjoy that with your discourse and your discussion from there hereafter after the event. So those 4 different places, and they are also mentioned where they shall be. All right, and I will mention those when we come back. Yes, here. So are we okay with that? Are we happy? We're good? Can we do lunch for exactly, now this will be how much time? Oh my goodness, okay. If we can be back here by 2 o'clock. Everyone in their different side events by exactly 2 o'clock. Is that okay? And then we come back here at 4 o'clock for the closing ceremony. All right? Yeah. And that is when we shall know which the best exhibitors and all that, and we get a bit of report from our hosts and others. It will be quite exciting. So, ladies and gentlemen, bon appetit. Enjoy your lunch. Let's get to our side events exactly at 2 p.m. And those who are running them, please be there and ready and finish by 3 so that we can have the parallel sessions after that. Thank you. Masilinda is looking for the BioVision team.